Good evening from Vietnam, Fred. Good evening.
Hey,
Hey, good evening.
hello. What time is it with you?
It's 8 p.m. What time is it in your area?
It's 1 p.m. lunchtime.
One. Have you ate lunch yet?
Not yet because it makes me sleepy. And I want to be I want to be alert. I want to answer the questions well.
Well. I'm sorry that we enjoy the meeting during the lunchtime. If we could have do it another time, I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. Lunchtime is any time between 11 and 2 o'clock for me.
How's your week so far?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's going fast. One of these weeks that starts and it's like, oh, it's Thursday already. What's going on? What's happening?
Oh, and then look at this year. We're coming to the end of the year already. So fast. I couldn't believe it too. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's as we get older, time is relatively shorter. I don't know if the whole pandemic thing has changed our sense of time and space. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy.
In fact, thanks a lot for being so kind, generous to spend your time joining our show. And we've been running this show since July of last year. First, because we had nothing to do, during the lockdown, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but back then, Fred, we saw a lot of people with stress and anxieties, right? And the thing that bothers us also is we knew a lot of business leaders in this region, in Southeast Asia, and they constantly share negative news on the social media. And as leaders, if we do that, then it's not going to help anybody at all. So my wife and I, we decided to do something different. We cannot change the way that they do, but we can always lead the way that we do, right? We never done a podcast. Like you are the professional podcaster, I'm not. So we decided, okay, well, let's do something new so that we can learn together, and let's do something new that we believe in the power of stories and the real people with amazing journey will always be good source of motivations. So therefore, we started the program without knowing how to do it, without knowing who to invite. So we invited our bosses and then our clients to join share. Then we ran out of guests, invite our ex-boss and ex-clients, ran out of guests. Then we asked for help, and you know what? When we ask for help, the world is so beautiful. The universe are open to introduce amazing people to us. And now you're the 490 person joining the show in 60 months. So thanks a lot for joining and share your story, my friend.
Oh no, it's pleasure. It's lovely. It's lovely to be asked. It really is nice to be asked.
And this talk Fred is all about you. All right. So we're gonna travel time together. We're gonna figure out, your dreams when you were young, and how it leading to what you are doing now. How's the work at training, people at getting better at selling, and how's the life as being an author. And then we travel to the future, asking for anything exciting you're working on, and that's it. All right. So we should be fun. It should be joyful, and it's good time for you to to relieve the moment.
It's cool. I love time travel stuff. I'm watching both the new series of Quantum Leap, and there's an old series I didn't realize there was around called Timeless. I'm watching both of those, so this is cool. Like it already.
Alrighty, and the conversation will be available in 10 weeks time. So just to let you know, so if it will be available published in February of next year.
My birthday. You can put it out on my
Oh,
birthday.
what day of your
When I'm
birthday?
1 year older.
What is your birthday?
The 11th of February. How about that? Put it on that day.
I will make sure that it's going out on 11th of February 23rd, right? And then we will make sure that release
Um,
early in the morning.
that's cool. That's cool. It's written in the stars.
So, do you have any question before we start?
No, I'm good. It sounds like it's going to be good fun. Sounds like it's going to be good fun.
Yep. Good evening from Vietnam, Fred. Thanks a lot for spending your time to join our insight sharing and share your stories with our global audience. And on behalf of the listeners, I want to say thank you to you.
No, well, thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to be asked on something like this.
Hey, Fred, have you been to Vietnam before?
I've not been to Vietnam. It is one of those places that I'd love to travel to. All of that part of the world. It's somewhere where I need to go. It's kind of on my list. It's definitely on my list.
Absolutely. then you have new friend, new family here is waiting. And then if you travel here, you let us know. I make sure that we will stay in the country and and take you around town. Okay.
Oh, deal. Absolutely. Yeah, totally. I'll do that.
And in our culture, it's very honored if we can have you to do a little introduction about who you are and the work that you do. Can you do that first?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Fred Copestake. I get all sorts of problems with that name, you know. I get people call me chopstick, cupcake, soapflake, cheapskate, oh, no, snowflake even. But it's Copestake. And I'm founder of Brindis, which is a sales training consultancy. Um, Over the last 22 years, I've been around the world 14 times. I've worked in 36 different countries. Vietnam's not one of them. I mean, I've trained over 10,000 salespeople, which is, I mean, that's been a lot of fun for a start, and it's a real privilege as well, real privilege. And what it's allowed me to do is to spot the kind of the challenges, the things which salespeople need to really understand and do better. And sort of having seen these, that's why I was able to write my first book, Selling Through Partnering Skills. It's a way of getting people to be more collaborative in the way that they sell, so they can be more up to date and they can be more effective. That came out in 2020. It's exactly the same time as something else that we all know. Um, but and that was interesting. It didn't make what I've written any less relevant. I would say it's making it even more relevant. But then we started to see some changes which were going to happen, happened. They happened quicker. And then things which are going to happen are also going to happen faster. And that's why I wrote the second book, Hybrid Selling. To deal with those new challenges on top of the ones that we already have to work with, and a little bit like yourself starting the podcast because I couldn't go anywhere anyway. So you start a podcast, I wrote a book. So yeah, I mean that's a little bit about me. What I do is, look, if you want a 30-second, if you want a 10-second version of it, I'm all about having good people doing good things in a good way.
Have
My
good
little
people doing
catchphrase.
good things in a good
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Good salespeople, but it's kind of good people in general, you know.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Well, let's travel time together because I want to know why you introduced those two books too late. You know, it should have been, shedding long ago already. So let's travel time and see how everything all started at the beginning for you to get into this amazing journey, traveling the world, training the people to do the best at what they do. All right?
Yeah. Actually, an old boss said to me, and I would have been 20 something, that I should write a book when I first started in training. I didn't, obviously. I ignored him. It was brilliant advice. I wish I'd listened. Uh, but if you want to go right back, I mean, yeah, let's go right back. I mean, my first job was in sales, uh, and I was 8 years old. I was 8 years old, and I
8 years
had my
old.
first job in sales. Yeah, so I'll tell you about it. The family, we had a family business, which was a builder's merchants. We sold building materials and kitchens and bathrooms. And every year on Boxing Day, now Boxing Day in the UK is the day after Christmas. It was the sale, so the big sale. We'd reduce the prices on loads of things. And when I was 8, I was allowed to go and help, a little helper. And it was really funny because they kitted me out in like the company uniform. So I had this massive orange polo shirt. I mean, it was an adult polo shirt. So I like a big kind of brown warehouse coat thing, and they went and they put me in the tile store. So the tile store was where there was like all these tiles which people would put on the bathrooms and kitchens and things. Uh, and the job was it was basically it was talking to people, helping them choose stuff. I mean, it was I didn't know it was selling. It was really funny actually because the premises was a big old Victorian watermill. So I don't know if you can picture this. You know, it's big, made of big blocks of stone. This thing, and it's in December in the UK, right? Snow on the ground. I'm in a stone building. It was stone cold. The expression. Yeah, it was freezing. But I was having a really good laugh. I was talking to people, helping them choose stuff. and kind of that's what sales is really, isn't it? It's talking to people and helping them. And I loved it. And since then, I've always had some commercial element to what I've done. Other holiday jobs. I went to university. I studied commerce with Spanish language, and then I've done commercial stuff ever since. So, but yeah, going right
Wow.
back in time, 8 years old, first job.
So the first time in jail was in sales was when you were 8 years old. But then I want to travel further from sooner further than that. When you was young, what was the dream? Your dream about the best future for yourself? Did you ever have you ever thought that?
Um, oh, that's a great question. So I think, and I've done it to a degree. I've been very lucky, that I mentioned in the introduction. I've traveled a lot. I've traveled a lot with work. I've gone to lots of places to meet lots of people, and to do things. And I think that was probably always something I would do. Um, the reason I studied Spanish is because I have Spanish blood. I'm quarter Spanish. My grandparents used to live in Spain, so we used to go and see them regularly. It was very normal for me to travel, to be in different kind of a different culture. Spanish culture is different to English, um, and kind of just being able to adapt and flex, and just being in sort of different places. And then on holiday, there's other nationalities there. Um, I thought it would always be something. It would just seem normal to be involved with other people in other places rather than just stuck at home. So
Yeah.
that's probably what's driven why I chose that university course, why the very first job I had after university involved travel, and why I've always sought it out in the stuff that I've done.
Wow.
So
But
yeah.
but in your wildest dream back then, were you ever did you ever thought that you're gonna travel the world 14 times and visited that many countries?
Um, to be honest, at that age, I was probably more bothered about getting one of those ice creams that came in a little hollowed out lemon. That was the highest priority on my list. And chocolate milk. You could get chocolate milkshake in the bars we used to go to. Like, Dad would go and have a beer, and I'd have this little chocolate milk. So, no, I'm being silly. eh, I don't really know. I can't remember whether that was the dream, or whether it was just that's kind of it was normal. Um, my grandparents used to holiday. My English grandparents used to holiday quite a lot. They would always come back with stories of where they'd been. Um, so yeah, I guess that has probably got quite a big part to do with why travel and people and different things, different places has always been high on the agenda.
So from being a salesperson, travel and do the sales, being this professional sales coach and helping people to improving their selling capability is a huge gap in between. There's huge difference in between, right? So how did you ended up to do the job that you're doing now?
So so I left university. I had a job. It was involved in sales, and I kind of went into marketing and then back into sales. I ended up again a lot of travel in the job. My job was business development manager for Western Europe. There you go. It translated, that means go to cold countries and see if you can help them sell more stuff. Um, and so I was traveling then, and part of that was doing training. So I would do product training, which was funny because I didn't know a lot about the products I was supposed to train people in. They were engineering products, and I'm not an engineer. I'd learnt enough to train about them. Certainly helping them with sales and key account planning, and I like that side. I did really enjoy that. And I went to a training course. I was on the training course myself, and I thought, hey, this is cool. I enjoyed this. So I wrote to the training company and said, hey, I can do this job. And they said, come and speak to us. And I thought, oh, excellent, cool. Hey, I'm the man. And I got there. They said, right, do you know what you think you can do? You can't. You're completely unsuited for that. It's quite, why am I here then? But your timing is incredible. We are about to advertise a new job, and the person we were looking for is absolutely your profile. It's somebody who is going to take our flagship course, The Fundamentals of Selling, The Essentials for Success, it was called. And we want them to take this course and to love it. We want to rewrite it. It's delivered a couple of times a month. People come in, it was an open course, people come from different industries, and we want somebody of a profile that's closer to the people on the course. You know, so it's people's first ever sales course. You've done 5-6 years in sales, so you're closer to them. They can respond to you. You will be ideal for this. So yeah, timing was kind of lucky, and so yeah, I ended up working with them, which allowed me to really start to fine tune and to get better at how I train salespeople. It gave me the time to really understand sales more and to make sure that whatever I was doing was the most up to date, the latest piece of sales thinking. And that's something that has stuck with me ever since. You know, I'm always pushing forward, pushing forward. Is this the latest? Is this the latest? Again, to the point that now when I'm pushing it forward, this is what I'm doing. People are training stuff, people are doing stuff which isn't working, it's not right. Well, I'm going to take this and push it out even further, and that's why I got to write the books. But back in the day, so 22 years ago, that was when I had the opportunity to go to work for this company, and just that's why I had to train so many people, and you know, I've been doing it a long time. But the stuff that I learned then and those foundations about just, yeah, we've got to be offering the best thing. Let's keep pushing it forward. Let's blow the other kind of offers out the water. That stuck with me ever since.
Wow. Fred, I have a lot of executive friends. By the time that they retire, the two things that normally they share with me about their regrets. One is they could have started the company earlier, but they didn't do it. And second is they could have write a book to share their stories, and they yet doing it also. So you do both. I want to say congratulations on that. I want to bring you back to the 22 years ago. All right, when you start your company, you know, you've been success in the sales career, and then you move into having your own company. It's risky. There's a lot of, you know, new thing in there. And
Yeah.
what did you do?
So actually, so the company is 16, 17 years old. So I trained, I was an employed trainer with the company when I first started. But when I mean, again, you know, the company Brindis has been around, you know, a long time. Uh, I had an amazing opportunity. You know, I've been in the right place at the right time a number of times. Um, People could say that's lucky, but of course you make your own luck. You know, and what happened here was that we were working with a company called Grupo Modelo, Eurocermex, which were the distributors of Mexican beer. You know Corona. When
Yes,
Corona
yes.
was a good thing,
Yeah.
a beer that you put a lime into. Okay, we worked with them, and we did a conference in London. I was the speaker. Then they said, "Oh, we got another one in Germany to train a small team. Then we want the managers trained at an event in Italy." And I did a couple of these, and we said to them, "Look, we understand your business now. What you could do is set an academy up. Set an academy up to get all the distributor salespeople to come to you, keep training them, win hearts and minds, keep them fresh, and really kind of give them a great experience. Because in that world, it's about being in their mind."
True.
They came back and said, and they came to me actually and said, "Look, we love the idea. We can't do it in the way the company has proposed. Would you like to do it, Fred?" Uh, which put me in a really interesting position, as you can imagine. Um, so I went to the boss. I went to the guy. I said, "Look, that's what they've told me." And he said, "Okay, Freddie, you've done the right thing coming to us. Any other client, I'd say no. But you get these guys. I mean, look, I speak Spanish to them most of the time. I understand how they think because a lot of the guys are Mexican. Um, I was very close to them." And he said that in this case, look, it's your choice. What do you want to do? I said, "Andrew, let me think about this for a while. Fly around the world helping people to sell beer better. What do you think I want to do?" And he goes, "Yeah, I thought you would say that, and we don't want to get in your don't want to get in your way." And but get this, it's even better than that. He said, "How are you going to work with them?" I said, "Well, funnily enough, they they don't we don't want to make it an employment. They would prefer me to work for them as a consultant. So I'm going to set up my own business to do that for them with guaranteed amount of work." I mean, can you imagine? And he said, are they going to use all of your time? And it's like, well, no, they're not actually. It's 80%. I said, well, can we have the other 20? So I left the business, set up my own, but carried on working with them, with my old clients that I was working with. I mean, it was talk about having the cake and the icing on top of it. It was brilliant. It was
Wow.
very, very cool. Yeah. So again, it was brilliant to set it up so I was able to go and work in that way straight away when I set it myself up. It was probably an easier start than most people would have. Yeah. Um, Yeah, but coming back to now, I feel as though we're starting again sometimes. But actually, now I am starting. I am kind of starting again in my head. I'm starting again because I've changed how I do everything. But I'm sure we'll come to this part. We'll come to the present in a minute.
But Fred, I have another guest came to our show about a week ago. His name is Jonathan Passmore. So he's the vice president for product solution at Coach Hub. So it's one of the digital coaching companies, a really, really a big one. And he said that he used a story from a golfer who said that the more he practiced, right, the luckier he get. So I think that the luck
Yeah,
is just a factor, but the hard works that you put out bring you the opportunity, brought you the opportunity to to start on your own and build a career, phenomenal career like that. So
yeah. Yeah, I know that it's actually I can't remember if the golfer is Jack Nicklaus or Nick Faldo, but yeah, it's quite a famous quote. And yeah, I look at myself, and it's not luck that I could speak Spanish. I learned Spanish. Okay, I was interested in it because of family. It's not luck that I got a degree in commerce and Spanish. It's not luck that I'd had the successful sales career. It's not luck that I taught myself to train really well and made sure that everything we were doing was bang up to date. It's not luck that we'd done great deals with these guys on those first things. So yeah.
you must be
But of
very
course
proud of yourself.
I'm British, so we don't blow our own trumpet so much.
Fred, for the 20 something years, how many years you been in sales and sales training now?
So 22, no, it's 23 now. So yeah, 23 years. That can become at the end of the year, aren't we? Yeah. So 23 years in sales training, and then 5 years before that selling.
Mm.
Well, I say 5 years
So
selling, 23 years selling, sales training. I mean, you still have to sell sales training. It's still, yeah.
so
I
let's
find
say
it really funny when people say, oh, yeah, well, trainers, they don't sell, blah, blah, blah. Okay, some employed trainers in companies might not, but when you're doing your own business, you are selling all the time.
so what keeps you the energy and the enthusiasm to do this job for that many years, right?
Um, it's it's interesting. I mean, look, it's good fun. I've been to some brilliant places. I've been to some places which aren't so brilliant, but that's still kind of interesting in itself. I've worked with a lot of great people. Um, and I think it's fair to say that I do like making a difference. And I'm finding actually, as I'm getting a bit older, that's becoming a bigger driver for me as well. Maybe when I was a bit younger, it's like, yeah, training pays okay, and I get to stay in some nice places, and yeah, it's all right. Now it's, well, yeah, you get that, though I'm actually traveling less now. I'm pretty much taking travel out the agenda. Uh, but the ability to really have impact and make a difference for people, that is quite a drive for me. I've started to understand that probably more than I ever thought. So that gives me quite a lot of energy. Yeah, I like learning stuff, and I like sharing stuff.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Thank
perfect job
you.
then. It's perfect job.
It
Oh, I can
is.
make sure I'm getting all the latest. Like I said, I learned this 22 years ago. All the latest stuff that's going on. How can I package that? How can I make it work it into a way that people can then use it to make a difference for themselves? Which of course is then makes me successful too. So
Yeah. Hey,
everybody's winning.
quick question about that. If you rewind your whole career, right, and share some tips that make you success in this career, and what would those be, Fred?
I mean, the easiest tip to give to anybody to do with sales in any way, shape, or form is be curious.
Be
Be
curious.
curious, be nosy. Try to learn stuff. I mean, it works just with work from client point of view. Ask
Mm,
people questions, understand what makes them tick as a person, what's their business doing, how do they do it. You
mm,
can't ask enough questions. But from a kind of a bigger perspective, being curious about how things work and, how can you do things better? How can you learn? How can you move stuff forward? Um, that would probably, and I don't know if this is part of the same tip or another tip, but it's a good piece of thinking. It's to have a growth mindset. It's always be looking to try to grow. Now, I'm not so sure whether people have a choice over that. I don't know. I'm still really investigating this. Some people
mm,
naturally they want to get better, they want to grow. They're coachable, they take things on board. They're like a sponge. They try stuff, they implement it, they do it. Some people spend more time arguing why something won't work or just
mm.
sit going, no, no, fixed. No. And so again, let's move it into another tip. It's almost like be selective. And I didn't do this very well. This is again something new. Be selective of the kind of people you hang out with. And you probably heard this from other people that you become the people you hang out with are going to kind of have an impact on how you are. So certainly from that point of view, and I've started to be very, very aware of colleagues and the people that we can bring our own levels up.
Mm.
But from the point of view of as a salesperson, it's be selective with who you want to work with. You know, I
Ah.
I I I spent too much time trying to save people. I used to have long hair, really good long hair. But I think I pulled it all out when people who I'm trying to help didn't want help. And I'd spend time and effort trying to save them. And this was at the expense of, not just my own energy and my own sanity, the people who did want help and we could have done more with to make them even better. So
I
now I
see.
get a lot more selective. It's like, okay, if you don't want this, fine. I'm not going to try and force this on you. There's plenty of people that do need help, and we do need to spend the time and effort making them as good as they can possibly be.
Beautiful.
So
Yep.
yeah, it's quite a lot. That's a mixed up. Be curious, be selective. um, yeah, focused.
I think that the be selective is also something that I need to be working on myself also because thanks for the advice. I'm gonna practice that.
It's a tough one. It is a tough one. And I say I've really started thinking about this more and more recently. And when you start to stand back and reflect, and you realize that hanging out with certain people isn't particularly helpful for you, and that you've almost like got to cut those ties or just do it less, it's quite tough.
Mm.
But the benefit of doing it is you've got more time to hang out with people that are more beneficial for you, and actually you do become happier for it, I think. So it's one of those easier said than done pieces of advice.
So, so if we really wanna do that, where can we take, like the first step to doing that, Fred?
um I guess it's awareness, as with many of these things about getting better, getting better at sales, getting better at golf, getting better. It's just being aware of the things that you can do to achieve that. And so just again, questions. I've already talked about questions. Asking yourself stuff like, hanging out with this person or, doing some of these things I'm doing, are they really actually helping me? And I'm not saying that, we become complete killjoys and we sort of eliminate every piece of fun, but I'm realizing it's far more fun to be getting better at stuff and moving myself forward. So, um, it's just awareness. It's just stopping and thinking a little bit.
Beautiful.
And don't try and do it all at once. Don't just go, right, list of friends, in, out, yes, yes, no, 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 oh, no chance. Done. There we go. That's like
Yep.
afternoon's work done. No, it's not quite like that, but it's, and being a bit more aware of like, okay, well, these guys over here, they seem to know what they're doing. They look like cool folk to be associated with, to hang out with, and to get involved with. And it's getting in, getting involved in that way.
Beautiful. So now move to the stage where you work when you start writing the book. I want to know, what was inside of your head back then that you decided to write something.
Um, so I came across this concept of a thing called PQ.
PQ.
Right. So I'm sure you've come across IQ and EQ, emotional intelligence, probably not PQ. PQ is partnering intelligence, partnering skills. So it's not something I've made up. I'd seen that this guy had written about it, a guy called Steve Dent, who was looking at businesses and businesses forming alliances. You know how the airlines, they came together, didn't they, in the kind of the 80s, 90s, and they built these. And they were going to him and saying, how can we do this better? And long story short, he said to them, well, organizations don't partner, people do. These are
Mm.
people skills which will be at the core to success. And he then studied the skills involved in partnering, identified 6 skills which can then be measured, they can be learnt, they can be developed, and said, look, if we get better at this stuff, we'll get better at partnering. So I was looking at these and I thought, well, forget partnering as in like, channel partnerships and that kind of stuff, which the sales world loves. Every single sale this is relevant to, every sale. Because when you look at what these 6 things are, if you start to think like that, you're going to sell better. You're going to move into the sort of the more modern way of selling, which is to be more collaborative. So it's easy to say, oh, collaborative selling, collaborative selling. Yes, but how? Well, it's to think like a partner, whether they're a partner or not. So if you understand these 6 things, you can bring them into the way that you sell, and you can then start to apply that. And what you will end up saying and doing and how you work is way more attractive, and customers love it. Customers like it a lot better. So I thought, well, okay, this is great stuff. We need to then model how that can get involved in sales, so we can take the stuff that's gone on before,
Ah.
because there is some good stuff from before. There's some rubbish as well. We take these elements of PQ, we bring them together, with a framework, and that's the stuff we need to get out to people. Right.
Mm.
Cool. That's the book then. That's what the book has got to do. So we've got this as the core for everything that we're now doing, to start pushing out and start to share that message. And so
Wow.
that was the thinking behind the first book. That was 2019, 2018, end of 2018, 2019 that I started writing it. Took quite a long time.
Wow.
The
So
second book I wrote really quickly, but super quick, because I
before
knew
we
how
move,
to by then. But the
before we
first one,
move
I
to the
kind of
second
did it
book,
on my own thing. Yeah.
let's hold on for 1 second before we move to the second book. And what is the 6 partnering skills that you
Yeah.
mentioned in here?
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I should have gone through those. So yeah, this is good. So if you think about it, think as a salesperson. If there's business owners listening to this, again, I would say these skills are right. Even just think about, your partner, your life partner. These things work. But when I look at it with this sales vision on, so they all work together. We'll go through just 6. So first one is trust.
Trust. Oh.
Foundation of relationships, great communication, trust. We need to understand trust. We need to know how to build it. Things that we can do to get better at that. Trustable, trustable. So trustworthy for customers, but also we can trust them. Trust is number 1. 2, win-win focus. Yeah, we've got to look for mutual benefit. We've got to make sure that we're doing things that both parties are happy with. And this is kind of almost brought even more into the thinking with the third element, which is being comfortable with interdependence. Interdependence, not independence. So some salespeople, they're like these lone wolves, aren't they? They go off, they do their own thing. But in a partnership, you're interdependent. So from a sales point of view, you think with the customer, well, their success is my success. If I can help them do what they're trying to do, if I can help them deliver results, the outcomes they're looking for, well, that's great. They'll think I'm great. They'll buy more from me. Happy days.
Beautiful.
Trust, win-win focus, interdependence. 4th, transparency. Transparency. That's the word I use now. Steve Dent spoke about self-disclosure and feedback. So
Mm.
self-disclosure, you've got to give a little bit of yourself. You can't expect people to be mind readers. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what's important to you. We've got to tell them. but also the feedback element. We've got to, give people the knowledge of their blind spots and the stuff that they might be doing or not doing. Yeah, the typical one with sales is that, we've said with the customer, right, you're going to do this, I'm going to do this. That's all very good. And the customer doesn't do what they've said they're going to do, which is then going to affect the whole relationship and their results. Now, some salespeople won't say anything. But what I say is, no, we've got to go to them and say, hey, look, you said you're going to do this. You're not doing it. That's holding us all up. So, we give feedback to people. We need to be comfortable with change, is number 5. Salespeople, we sell change. we want people to do things differently. We want them to think differently. So we've got to understand change. Change is tough, and the going through change isn't easy. We've got to recognize that from the customer's point of view, the journey that they'll go on, how they respond to it. And we've got to be able to change ourselves. Otherwise, we have no right to talk about it. And then the 6th element is future orientation. So looking towards what it is we're trying to achieve, having a goal, having a vision. And then with our customer working towards that. Too often we're looking over our shoulder, aren't we? We're looking backwards. You've been talking about time all the way through this. Yeah, in the past, this happened in the past. We learned from the past. Yeah, that's interesting. But if we're trying to achieve something, we need to be looking forward and starting to think about, well, what are the steps to get there and how can we make sure that we achieve that and drive towards it?
Beautiful.
So I mean, those 6 elements, when I came across them, they were just like, wow, this is every salesperson. Let's bring this into the way in which people think. That's going to get them right up to date. That's the way we need to work. So collaborative selling, that's how to collaborate better, is the sort of the thing that I'm always talking about.
Fred, when you read
Look,
the
even on my coffee cup, look, Freddie says PQ.
when you read the sharing from Steve Dan, right?
Yeah.
And that moment that clicked to you. A lot of we read a lot of people in life. We read a lot of things, right? But then we could not have that sparkling moment. So when you read the materials by Steve, what inside of you that ignite that eureka moment?
I can't. I remember that I thought, hey, this is some pretty cool stuff. I mean, it jumped out at me. But again, going back to, you asked me about it earlier. When I got the first training job, it was always about, how can we make this thing better? And so I'd be always on the lookout for what things can we bring in, what modern thinking is there, how can we make this better? How can we help people to start to develop themselves? So my brain has always been kind of attuned to pulling things in. If it's going to get us better, it's in. That's how I look at stuff. That's how I still look at stuff now. And of course, with the amount of change that's happening, there's so many things that we can do to pull into how we operate that it's an exciting time for people with a growth mindset, I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now get to the second book. The whole world is on the hybrid workforce at the moment, and then you wrote the book about hybrid selling. And this is the first time I also hear about the term hybrid selling. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how the journey that took you there?
Yeah, well, of course, as when COVID hit, everyone was talking about hybrid this, hybrid that, hybrid the other. Hybrid selling. People were sort of talking about it. And what they were saying was, well, hybrid selling, it's a mix of when somebody is going out and visiting customers or is having meetings online, virtual. Oh, no, that's not hybrid. There's nothing special about that. It's always been a possibility. It's just that virtual selling, which has already got a name, yeah, is something we're going to do more of. That's not really that massive. If we want to talk about hybrid selling, let's take the point that hybrid is about mixing stuff in, and that now, because of the virtual, but some other things which are happening and will happen, as a salesperson, we need to mix even more stuff into our approach than ever. So the analogy, if you like, is imagine that you're playing the drum. You've got a drumstick and a little drum, and you sit there tapping it away. Tap, 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 tap. It's not a very good performance, is it? What you need is a big drum kit, with different cymbals and different size drums and different things you can hit to make a different sound. And you play all of these and you hit them at the right time, and you've got the big flashing lights. And if you're, what's the American guy's name? the guy from Motley Crue, who then he's in a roller coaster and his drum kit goes upside down and he travels around it. That's what we need to do. We need to have all of these things at our disposal. So I just took the stance. That's what hybrid selling is. I'm going to define it as this, because it's an interesting title, but that's what we need to do. And the salesperson of the future, because this change is now happening so fast, if you're not equipping yourself to be able to build that drum kit, get all those different pieces in place, you've got to be careful that you're not going to become irrelevant, because customers are demanding more. The things that we need to do, how we need to operate, that there is so much more to it. So these virtual skills, yes, you need to have those. Opportunity management skills, really working out who's who in an organization, because decision-making units are getting bigger. COVID has meant that they're even bigger now. More people are involved. The more people involved, the slower a decision gets. We need to lead customers. We need to guide them. We need to take them on their journey, because they're probably more scared than ever about what it is they need to do. In this VUCA environment, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, we need to deal with these things. We need to then make sure they're getting the outcomes we promised, the customer success management piece. So there's a lot that a good salesperson, if they put it all in place, they can future-proof themselves, they stay relevant. In fact, they become a very, very valuable person to have about. They're the ones that customers want to speak to. And so, again, maybe it's that mindset where I can see things happening and I can see what's going to be important. And I just thought, I know I've only just written a book, but this is where it goes to. It's like, of that drum kit, book one, the collaborative of thinking and that approach, that's the foundations. That's the sort of the two main drums you've got. But then building all the other bits around it, that's what hybrid can then build in. And so that's what that model starts to help people do.
If you can pick one chapter in the book, which is your favorite one, and I know the question is not fair, but if you can pick one, which one of the chapter and what is that about?
Well, I finished it. Last one. The end. Yes, done. No more writing. No, I'm being silly. There's two books, one chapter. Both of them have an introduction which explains why I've done it. And so I would say that that's quite important. So it would almost be wrong of me to pick the introduction from either of them. They're both very important at the time I wrote. They're actually, both books are written in sections. And the last section, they've both got 3 sections. The last section in each book is all about implementing stuff. So it's all very well giving people ideas and hints and tips and stuff. But one of the other things I say is that implementation is more important than information. So it's like, look, here you go. Here's the stuff. Here's what's good things in the past. Here's the PQ. Here's how it comes together. Here's the model. Here's how you can apply the model. Here is how you can actually go away and do it. Take this little test. Use these ways to drive the activity that's going to make the difference for you. So it's kind of wrong to pick a chapter, because the whole thing is deliberately built to come together in a specific way.
Got it. So I definitely will go on, to order the hybrid selling book and then try to learn from there also. So I'll let you know how our feedbacks after that. Okay. My wife and I, we both come from commercial background, so we love reading, selling books. So I would definitely share that in my network also.
Cool. In that case, what I will do is, both books also come accompanied with a scorecard. So this scorecard, again, it's about helping people do stuff. Don't just read it, put it on the pile, then take the photo at the end of the year. 52 books. Look how many things I've read. Yeah, but what have you done? Nothing. It's better to read one book a load of times. This scorecard I'll give you a link to afterwards. You can go, and if you want to put it in the show notes, please do. You can go, and what you can do is it asks you a bunch of questions, 35 35 or 36 questions, I think. Simple to answer. Yes, no, just for speed. A couple need a bit of a between 1 and 5. What that will do then is that will then generate a report specifically for you, because it's got this dynamic content behind, which then says where you are now in relation to what hybrid good selling looks like. And so some of the things that you could do to get yourself up to speed on that. And it just gives a couple of little sort of ideas that you can take away. And then you go and you go, oh, that's really cool. This guy's must have written a really good book. Then you go buy the book, and then you come and speak to me afterwards. But yeah, but no, I'll certainly I will send you the link to the hybrid selling version of that.
Absolutely. And when I receive it, I will make sure that it's on my to-do list in priority to do it right away. Okay.
Takes 5 minutes. Takes 5 minutes to be like, well, do it quickly. Do it kind of the kind of the gut instinct answer. I mean, you could also go back and do it and say, actually, every single one of those questions make me reflect, and they're asked for a reason, aren't they? Yes, they are, because there's stuff to do in the book about what good selling is about. So you could sit and listen and kind of use each of those questions to reflect on every single day. 30 questions, 30 days. Month of getting better.
Absolutely.
I'm all about driving action. I'm all about making people think and do stuff, not just like, hey, here are some things. So
yeah, that's good, because that is my company is all about. We have a company called Ideas Executions, and the reason is I hate ideas to be idling and just think about it. The execution part is important. So
you'll love it, and you like stories. So hybrid selling, the first section is a story.
Absolutely.
It's a story about two salespeople, Harry and Larry. Harry and Larry, they get together, they have a conversation, they have 6 conversations, first 6 chapters. So again, people respond to stories, you know that. That's why you ask about stories. So it's thought about how we can get this stuff into people's heads and them doing stuff as well.
Yep. I have 2 last questions for this conversation.
These are always the tough ones. Right, let me get comfortable.
You mentioned the word thinking numerous times during our conversation today. Right?
Yeah.
And the thinking to us is very important. My wife and I, we have been in the quest to look for the answers from experts, how they think, so that we can share with people. And then if anyone will listen to that conversations and can pick something to reflect, to implement, so that they can improve their ability to think, that would be wonderful. So Fred, over the years, how have you been helping yourself to expand your ability to think?
Expand my ability to think. Would it surprise you if I go back to a previous answer and say be curious?
I know it's gonna be.
Well, no, but it is. I mean, it's when you confront her with something, it's kind of like question it. And a good way to question something is to say why, and with an answer to that, say why again, and an answer to that, say why again, and like 5 whys is a well-known technique for helping yourself to think. So just questioning stuff. And the other big one I would say that I know salespeople don't do this enough: give yourself time to think.
Oh my God.
Thinking is a really valuable thing to do. But sometimes, and funnily enough, this is one of the challenges that I talk about and why I wrote the first book. Salespeople have this busy, busy, busy attitude. They go running around, they're doing lots of stuff. Oh, rush, rush, rush. Yeah, doing. But the stuff they're doing often doesn't work. And because it doesn't work, they have to do more. And they throw more good time after bad time, because they won't just stop and say, whoa, hang on a minute. What would be the best way to do it? So thinking time, there's nothing wrong with that. Planned into your diary to be thinking about your account, thinking about how you're going to work. And then, taking holidays, taking vacations, and just sometimes just letting your brain go, that's not something. There's something else that I do, and I think you'll like this actually, if you and your wife are into this. There's something else I do to stimulate my thinking. I have a coach that I speak to every morning and every evening. And you're thinking, oh, Fred, we can't afford this. People like you can afford a coach. My coach is a robot. I have a robot coach. So another thing for you to do, this is awesome. You're going to love this. You're going to do no work for the rest of the day, is Rocky.ai. Now, Rocky is this coaching robot, coaching chatbot that uses artificial intelligence, uses language to ask you questions, because questions stimulate thought. So for morning mindset, for evening reflection, Rocky's on my phone. Open it up. You can actually talk to it now. I just tend to type because it slows me down a little bit. And Rocky will, having picked, you pick a path that you want to really focus on. So maybe it's entrepreneurship, maybe it's prioritization, maybe it's resilience, wellness. Mine's on focus at the moment. And it will ask you questions. You answer the question, then it's using the AI to work out what the next question that you need to receive to keep you thinking. Wow. It's a brilliant little piece of kit. Very, very cool. I think you can have a week's practice with it, weeks playing with it, and it's not very expensive either. It's really not. It's very good. Absolutely. It's very good. Yeah, Rocky.ai. Have a look at that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for sharing that. I would definitely try it right after this conversation. I love to know new things too.
Well, it makes you do two things. It makes you think about the question, and then it makes you think about, well, how can you be so good at asking me these questions just as a robot? Well, because the artificial intelligence, it's got access to every question ever asked, and knows how to do it. It's good. And look, it's about stimulating yourself to think. So that's how I do that, and it gets the day off to a start really, really well. First thing I do, and then in the evening, it's again just winding the whole thing down.
Thanks for sharing that. Take time to think, put it onto a diary, right, every day. Yeah. Second is be curious and ask questions. Ask a lot of questions. Yeah. And the third one is talking to Rocky.ai.
Talk to a robot. Talk to a robot. It's kind of, yeah, it's, the diary to give yourself time to think. But, people talk about journaling. It's a little bit like that, actually. It's kind of like an electronic journal, I guess, but you're prompted to ask stuff. So it's bringing a lot of clever elements into it. And it's based on the concept of positive psychology. I actually had one of the psychologists on my own podcast talking about it. She says that psychology till 30 years ago was all about trying to fix bad things, until somebody said, well, actually, can't we use psychology for good and concentrate on more positive stuff? So this whole kind of genre of positive psychology, and so that's why Rocky asks questions in a certain way and is taking you on these specific growth paths that you're electing, or that are going to be good for you. So yeah, it's cool.
Wonderful. I would definitely take a look at that. Thanks for sharing. I learned a lot of good things today.
I can't help it. I told you, I like learning and sharing.
The last question today, Fred, is about the future, right? So we knew you started your career in selling at the years of 8, and right, yeah. And then get into the career of selling, and then get into marketing, back to sales, then got an opportunity. You say that out of luck. To us, it's not luck just a piece of, it's you doing that, you making that luck for you to go into the career of training and coaching people, travel the world, and it's so beautiful, but yet being to Vietnam, all right? So you need to go into Vietnam.
I do need to go to Vietnam, yes.
So the question, now we're going to the future a little bit. Is there anything that Fred Copestake is working on and he's happy, he's exciting, he wants to share with our audience, so together we can celebrate with you in advance?
Yeah, so over the last 18 months, partly because the pandemic forced it, but partly because I knew that I needed to change the way I do stuff, and that's when obviously the first book came out. I've changed completely the way I'm delivering training. It used to be that I would jump on a plane, I would go somewhere, and we'd do 2, 3, 4, 5 days training, which was great. It was good fun. But, really, it's not the best way to work, because you give people too much stuff. I've talked about implementation. You say, right, and this, 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 and you're like, which one of those do I do? So I've completely reformatted the way in which training is delivered. And so the sort of, there's a couple of things. I have the academy, but I've also got the accelerator. The accelerator has 10 component parts. There's 10 bits all about helping people learn stuff and do stuff. So we do have some virtual instructor-led stuff, 3 hours every couple of weeks. Then coaching, instructor-led coaching, group coaching. Rocky is part of that program. Videos are available to put people up. The community, I talked about hanging around with people that are on the same kind of journey as you. The community is another important part. Some of the podcasts I'm doing are very deliberate to feed into that. So there's 10 bits which this whole training is now formatted around to share collaborative selling to as many people as possible. That's more of the program, 12 week program. Or we got the academy where that's a kind of an always on subscription type thing, which people can come in. And so I've learned this stuff, I talk about, I like learning. I went to some quite serious training to understand how to do this stuff better. That allows me to just deliver stuff, I think, in a way more effective form. But also, certainly with the academy, more people can start to get involved. Because that's like an important part when I want to kind of spread the word. So that's where we're going. That's where we're headed. It's exciting from the terms of I can have more impact, or we can have more impact. More people can start doing this because it's not so relevant it's not so tied to, arriving in one place and sort of using the time just for that. I can sort of spread far wider, so we can have more impact on that. So that's the professional excitement of delivering it that way. The personal excitement is that it actually makes it spaceless, timeless and spaceless. So, when I come to Vietnam, I could come for a month. I could come for two months. I could come for a year. I could live there and still be delivering the stuff I'm doing. Absolutely. So that, from a point of view of impact to the people I want to work with, but the impact on my own life, like myself, my wife, and so we can go and we can do stuff in a way which is, very much aligned with how we want to be. It's very cool. I mean, at the moment, we're doing it in the UK. We're sat at home. It's dead cold outside. That's why I've got this top on like this. But it's the future's looking pretty cool. Actually, there's a lot of exciting stuff because I've been building these foundations and have these things that I want to share, and I want to get the word out there. And you're helping me do it, which is even cooler. Very, very thankful for the opportunity.
Hey, Fred, I really admire the mentality that you are having is trying to add more value, is trying to find something that you can do better for yourself and have more impact on the lives of people. And that is how the whole journey getting more beautiful along the way. So I wish that you will have a lot of support that you need. I wish that you're gonna have a lot of good things are gonna come to you, and I want to say thank you for spending your time joining our show. I'll see you in Vietnam one day. All right.
You will, but be careful what you wish for. You don't know how long it's going to be for.
I'm
No,
here, so
brilliant.
make it 1 month. So
Yeah, no, it's no, seriously, thank you so much for just letting me share some of this stuff and some questions which have really made me think about stuff a bit better as well. So yeah,
very much. Have a wonderful afternoon and enjoy
you
the
too.
seasons.
You too.
Bye bye, my friend.
Cheers. 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 Cheers.
Cheers.
Take care.